Public key infrastructure. It's like certificates for authentication, encryption, and stuff. So you'll have trusted authorities, which give you these certificates that you can encrypt things with, or prove your identity with, authenticate to a VPN, stuff like that. Access control and troubleshooting. So ACLs, you can allow people to have access to certain devices or folders or whatever. And then there's principles in like inheritance and precedence, like inheriting certain access based on what account that you have. And then, of course, you're going to have to do troubleshooting of servers. Software problems are usually what you're going to run into more than hardware problems. But you can run into a wide variety of problems, and you need to be prepared to troubleshoot them: hardware, software, network, storage, security, etc. Disaster recovery. If you have servers, you want to have a disaster recovery plan, a DR plan that says if everything blows up, what do we do? Do we have the data stored off-site? Do we have another site that we can stand up in case of an emergency? So backups and eliminating the single point of failure, having alternate locations in case of a disaster. All right, so here's some questions. Which server form factor occupies the most space? Tower servers, they're the biggest. What term is used to describe a virtualized OS? So it's called a guest that runs on a host, which is the physical server. Which two of the following items are related to HVAC? So HVAC has to do with air conditioning and heating and stuff, ventilation and temperature control. How can ESD be reduced? So that's the electrostatic discharge. And that's ensuring that objects in contact, so you and a computer, are at the same equal charge before you touch it, touching some bare metal before you touch a circuit board or something. What is the difference between DAS and SAN? So direct attached storage is local storage, and then a SAN is a network storage. It's not directly attached to the server. So SSDs provide, they don't consume as much power, and they have quicker file access because you don't have that moving parts where it has to like access stuff on the disk platter like you do with a magnetic hard disk. You would like to improve disk I/O performance for data residing on a physical server. In accordance with your organizational policy, a server must remain running even if an operating system fails. The server is currently configured with RAID 1 for the operating system and data. What should you configure? So RAID 1 would be mirroring, like mirroring disks. So if you added this to the server and you configured RAID 0, that would be striping of data, so that would increase the performance. What role does a default gateway perform in an IPv4, IPv6 environment? It's basically a router that allows traffic into and out of your network. The London office has an Active Directory domain controller configured with IPv6. The Toronto office domain controllers are also configured with IPv6. Replication over the internet is failing. What should be done to remedy this? So configure it, use a tunneling solution like a VPN. There's an excessive amount of traffic going to a host on TCP port 25. What is causing this? The mail server is being flooded with spam. So port 25 is the mail protocol port. So most likely it's getting a lot of spam. What is the advantage of cloud computing? So with cloud computing, the provider of the cloud service can spin up a lot of virtual machines quickly and provision storage for you to use, and there's also SLAs that you would have with them to provide uptime, so that's a few advantages versus having to do all that yourself. Okay, so an e-commerce website is experiencing excessive traffic. How do you improve user response time? So network load balancing. Basically, you distribute traffic to the least busy server. Currently, users authenticate using a username and password. what could be done to enable multi-factor authentication? So if you use certificates, PKI certificates, that would be something that you have versus something that you know, which is a username and password. What category of processor do mobile devices use? So they use the reduced instruction set computing RISC, which is lower power and heat and all that. Current server supports DDR4 RAM. You want to use DDR3 RAM chips. What do you do? DDR3 cannot be plugged into DDR4 sockets, so you can't do anything. Basically, you have to buy DDR4 RAM. And thanks for watching. So if you enjoyed this content, if you found it useful, if you're studying for your CompTIA Server Plus, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. I'm going to be publishing more content. This is just part 1 of the overview of the CompTIA Server Plus study guide, but I'm going to go through each chapter, of all these different topics in more in depth. So thanks for watching.